from Rockstars and Royalty, and welcome to Rocked Up Frocks. In this series I take vintage and pre-loved clothing and give it a makeover. Today I'm going to be giving a makeover to a pair of shoes from my own wardrobe. I've had these shoes for probably 10 or 12 years and they're starting to look really tatty, but they're super comfy and I love them and I don't want to part with them. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to make them over with some sequin fabric. If you love my videos, please subscribe if you haven't already. Please hit the thumbs up on this video and leave me a comment. I love your feedback, I love chatting to you all, and I love to see what you've created. So come and find me over at Facebook, Rockstars and Royalty, and share your pictures of your creations inspired by my tutorials. To cover your shoes, you will need sequin fabric, preferably one with a stretch to it. And because it's slightly see-through, because it's on a mesh, it's best if it matches your original shoe colour. If you want to change your shoe colour, paint your shoes first. You will also need some sequin trim for edging the shoes. You'll need pegs to hold things in place while glue is drying. You'll need some tacky glue, a tape measure and a pair of scissors. Don't use your best fabric scissors to cut sequins with though, because they will ruin them. The first thing I'm going to do is unpick these bows from the front of the shoe. Take your shoe and measure over the longest part from front to back, leaving a little bit extra. So mine is about 19 inches, and then measure over side to side over the longest part, leaving a little bit extra as well. So 19 by 15. And that's the size of fabric that I'm going to need to cut now. Cut it with the stretch going this way. So I'm going to cut it 19 by 15 with the stretch going that way. So take your piece of fabric and lay it over the shoe. Make sure it's nice and centered and you've got enough fabric to reach the front and the back. Once you've got it lined up, take a peg and use the peg to hold it in place at the back of the shoe. Next, I'm going to cut a slit down the middle of the fabric here so I can get my hand inside. It's easier if you can put your hand inside while you're working on it. I'll stop just before I reach the front. And then I'm going to take another peg and hold that in position at the centre front. Now it's time to start gluing. So I start on the outside of the shoe here, so I lift up my sequins, so just before the heel, and I start putting on my tacky glue, but I don't go all the way to the edge because you're going to want to trim the sequins just inside the edge there, and the same at the bottom. Once your glue has dried for a few minutes, you can start pulling your fabric over. Use that stretch in the fabric to pull it nice and smooth. Now with heels you are going to end up with excess fabric at the back just because of the shape of them. Ballet flats are a lot easier to do, so what we're going to do, we're going to end up with a seam on the inside of the shoe, which is why we started on the outside. So once you're happy with how it's all sitting, give it a sort of good press down into the glue, and then we're going to leave that to dry for about half an hour. And don't worry that it looks white, tacky glue dries clear. Once your first side's dried a little bit, turn your shoe over and we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. I'm just going to take that peg off so I can get right up to where I stopped the glue the first time. I'm just going to move that over to the bit that's already glued. And because these are peep toes, I'm going right round the front here. And again, just joining up with where we finished gluing on the first side. Okay, and the same as before, I'm going to stand it up and pull it into shape and glue it on. Just gradually push it into the glue where you want it to sit. The last thing to do in this part is to smooth it down over the front of the platform, which is a bit tricky because you're putting something flat over something three-dimensional. It's hard to get it without any creases and overlaps in it. I'm going to leave this to dry for a little while again. Now this is dried, I'm going to take the pegs off and trim around the front bit that we've glued, and then we can glue the back part and the heel. I'm going to trim it so it finishes just above the edge of the sole and just before the top of the shoe. If you're using a fabric that's not sequined, you can cut off the seam allowance and fold it to the inside and glue it down. But because sequins are really rough and itchy, we don't want them on the inside because they'll just scratch our feet up. So this way it keeps a nice smooth edge and it's not going to be rough and hurt you. So here's what the front of our shoe looks like now. To glue the back of the shoe and the heel, lift up your fabric and put glue everywhere that hasn't got fabric stuck to it already. So starting from the outside side of your shoe, do exactly what we did on the front and start working the fabric where you want it to sit. This bit's tricky because it is so curved, it's really hard to get it without any pleats in it. I start from the outside and keep that side smooth and work towards the inside. And then when we come to the inside side of the shoe, what I'm going to do is take my scissors and make a cut up here, and then a cut along there, and I'm just going to overlap the sequins just here. But once it's all glued down, and because it's on the inside of the shoe, you won't really notice. So now the heel's dry, I'm going to do exactly the same as we did before and trim the excess off to just before the edges. So the last job to do is to finish the edges off using the string of sequins that we've got. I'm going to go around the top first, so I'm just going to take my toothpick and the tacky glue and just run a little line of it around the edge. You can glue down any loose edges that you've got as you do this part as well. Then I'm going to take the end of the sequin string and I'm going to put that on all the way around the edge to hide the cut edge of the sequin fabric. I'm going to make sure it doesn't stick up past the edge of the shoe, otherwise again it could really rub your foot. I'm going to do exactly the same all the way around the peep toe and the whole way around the edge of the sole as well, just to finish all the edges off. While the glue was drying, I made a pair of shoe clip bows. I made the bows using the technique in my bow tutorial, which I will put a link to above. And then I took the bows and I sewed them onto the shoe clip backs. The brand of backs that I use is Bluette. Here's our finished shoes. I think they look amazing, I'm so pleased with them. And the shoe clips work really well either on the front or on the back of the shoe. Thanks for watching. I hope you feel inspired to take some shoes out of your own wardrobe and give them a new life. I'll be back soon with more tutorials, more Rockstars frocks, and don't forget every Monday you can see my new weekly vlog which goes behind the scenes at Rockstars and Royalty.